Hey guys, I'm going to show you how I took this irregular window in my bathroom that's 22 by 22 inches and made it the perfect frame for a custom cordless Roman shade, and it's DIY. If you have an irregular window, the first thing you want to know when buying blinds is, are these able to be cut? These cordless mini blinds from Home Depot are not made to be cut, and they will not cut them in store, but I'm going to cut them at home anyway. Outside of the cordless mechanism, there's spaces where I'm going to be cutting. There's about 5 to 6 inches worth of space that I'm going to use my miter box and handsaw with, and I'm going to reduce the size of this blind. Now it's a 23-inch blind, but my window is 22 inches, so I'm going to reduce it to about 21 and a half. So I don't need to take off that much. Notice that I put the clamps on the inside of the miter box and not around the actual blind. This is just to kind of like take up some space because the clamp is not going to get around the blinds. To determine how many slats you need to eliminate, you need to know what you're going to keep. Whatever the length you want your shade to be, you have to divide by the number 7. Because in order for the Roman shade to work, you must have 7 inches of fabric between each slat. My 22-inch window divided by 7 means I only need 3 slats. To get rid of all these other unneeded slats, I'm going to cut the ladder cord and not the pull cord. What the pull cord is those 2 cords that you see there on the table. I'm going to set aside the 3 slats that I'm going to need to make my Roman shade work, and then I'm going to get started on eliminating these other unneeded slats. Gathering no more than 3 or 4 slats at a time, you're going to pull tight the pull cord, and you're going to cut through the hole but not through the pull cord. If you cut through the pull cord, these blinds are going in the trash, and you're going to have to go make a trip to Home Depot to buy another blind set to get started on. You can purchase round dowels like this from pretty much anywhere. Joann's, Menards, Home Depot, Walmart. You're going to be using these to reinforce the slats. I'm going to cut these 36-inch dowels in half to 18 inches. I only want 18 inches on my 22-inch slats because I'm going to be gluing 2 inches of fabric on each end of the slat. Again, using my miter box and clamps and handsaw, I'm going to very quickly saw through the dowel. And here we have it, 2 18-inch pieces. Then, using a hot glue gun, I'm going to glue these on the concave side, not the convex side. The convex side is going to be glued to the fabric. Remember, concave means it goes in. The convex side means it goes out. I'm just making sure that I'm gluing these center of the inside of the slat. And then I'm going to repeat on all the other slats. Most tutorials for Roman shades will tell you to have 2 extra inches of fabric on both sides and top and bottom. I am going to be using 2 extra inches on the top and the bottom to attach to the valance as well to the pull. But I'm going to be doing 3 inches on the sides because I'm going to turn in each side by 1 inch so that I get nice clean edges. The fabric that I'm using has a geometric pattern on the outside, so it's actually really easy to kind of follow along where to cut. If you have a solid piece of fabric, make sure that you make the proper markings so that you don't cut maybe slightly off to one side or slightly off to the other. If you're going to be lining your fabric, this will be also a good time to get that cut too. You can cut it the same size as the fabric if you want, or you can cut it slightly smaller. I'm going to show you why I want blackout lining. The fabric is pretty thin. It's a calico that you would use for quilting, but with the blackout lining by Rockline, it's definitely going to help me save some money as far as heating and cooling expenses. While I cut the fabric 27 by 28 inches, I'm going to be cutting my lining 23 by 23 inches. That means that 1 inch is going to be caught in along with the regular fabric on the sides when I glue them down to the slats. On the raw edge, I'm going to be turning it under 3/8 of an inch and pressing it. That's on top, bottom, and both sides. Once that's finished, then for a full 1 inch, I'm going to turn it under 5/8 inches and then press that. That's going to give me that nice crisp edge. Before the blackout lining to the fabric, I'm just double checking to make sure that it's center and squared. I looked on Rockline's website to see which side is supposed to be up or down, and it's actually a personal choice. They said it doesn't matter which side is up or down for the blackout lining, as both sides provide blackout status. That's great to know. Now I'm going to go sew this together at a 1/4 seam. Now that the blackout lining and the fabric have become one, we have to make markings every 7 inches from the top to make sure that our slats are attached to the fabric at even markings. Make the 7-inch markings on both sides so that once you begin to apply your hot glue to the convex side, you can line it up on both sides and it can go straight across from left to right. Repeat the process of gluing the slats at 7 intervals to the bottom of your blind. The hot glue has a fast tack, so make sure that you're working pretty swiftly in order for this to work. Otherwise, you'll just have to apply more hot glue. And if you have blackout lining, nobody's going to be able to tell that you use hot glue because it'll be glued to the lining and not the fabric. If you're using a thin fabric without lining, I suggest that you use fabric glue because it's softer and it's not going to go through the fabric as much as hot glue would. But again, hot glue has a fast tack, so you don't have to work with it or hold it down for very long. Just long enough for it to cool off, and it's going to attach to whatever you put it on. The next step is we're going to glue the top of the Roman shade fabric to the top of the valance. But first you want to make sure that your sides are nice and square by pinning them together so that they don't move in your process of using the hot glue gun. And do both sides. Now peel back the top of the fabric and you can start to hot glue either the very top of the valance on the edge, or you can go around on the inside of the valance and hot glue it there. It just depends what your personal preference is. After fully gluing the fabric across the valance, now we're going to go to the side of the valance where there's a little extra fabric and you're going to clip it right to the valance. After you clip it right to the valance and no further, you're going to use your hot glue gun, and that little piece of fabric that you just clipped, that's going to be wrapped on the inside of the valance. This is going to be nice and tight, and nobody's going to be able to tell that there's hot glue all over this bad boy. After gluing the fabric to both the valance and the bottom pool, now it's time to glue them to the slats. Make sure that you pull the fabric tight over the end of the slat and glue it down, and then use a clothespin to hold it so that the hot glue can cool down while you're moving on to the next slat. Then turn the whole Roman shade around and repeat on the opposite side. This is totally optional, but if you want, after you're done gluing the slats to the fabric, You can go in between the slats, the valance, and the pool and iron or press so that you can get nice clean edges. Then, if you want to, and this is completely optional as well, you can attach a little bit of trim to the bottom pool. And you want to do that right on the edge so that you can be able to see it. This is balsa wood. You can find it at pretty much any craft store. It's very, very lightweight wood. And it runs about $3 to $4 for this 36-inch piece. I'm going to be marking it for 26 inches to be cut, because I do want the cornice to be 2 inches outside of my Roman shade. And balsa wood is so lightweight that it literally took seconds for me to be able to saw through this. I would not recommend this wood for larger shades, because it is one of those pieces of wood that can break very, very easily. You would probably do better getting pine or basswood. Depending on how thick your piece of wood is for your cornice, you can cut a 5/8 inch seam or up to a 1 inch seam, because we're going to be hot gluing this around the back. Miter your corners by putting little dots of glue on just the corner of your wood and pressing down only the corners of the fabric. Once you've done that, move on to the other side. Once the glue is set on the two corners, put a little bit in between on the small side that has not yet been glued down. Then press that down and wait for the glue to set. As recommended before, use clothespins as extra fingers for this project to help it go along a little bit faster while the glue is setting. After you've done it on both sides, you're going to take your hot glue gun and you're going to go down the length of your cornice and hot glue that around the back. Make sure as you're gluing the fabric to the back of the cornice that you're pulling it pretty tight so that you don't have any gaps on the front of the cornice when you get done. I'm going to be using 2 sawtooth hanger fixtures on the back of the cornice for a little bit more stability. It can use to hang on 2 nails instead of 1. The nails that came with this package were too long for this balsa wood, so I'm just going to hot glue them on, and the hot glue worked perfectly fine. Inside your cordless system should be manufacturer's instructions on how to mount your blinds inside or outside of your window. Now would also be a good time to hang your nails to hold your cornice. Thanks for viewing.